Tracy here. Long time no see. I've had people requesting or asking if I was going to make another video, and I have intended to for months, to be honest. I've tried even a few times. Just didn't like the result, ran out of time, and so hopefully I'm finally able to complete a video that I like and get it up to you, just to check in. And first off, to say thank you, by the way, to all who have continued to follow me over the years, whether on YouTube or any of the other social media, and whether I was plant-based or following a low-carb and or meats and sweets diet. But because it's still just sort of the time of year of Thanksgiving, and we're heading into winter, which is a great time to kind of go within and be more reflective, introspective, reflect on the year that just passed and perhaps what you want to bring into the next year. And in general, even bigger cycles than that. Sometimes I believe we have these sort of 9-10 year cycles, and I think the last 2 years have been a kind of culmination of a whole cycle that has come to an end, and I'm heading into a whole new, perhaps 9-10 year cycle. And as a result, it's just been requiring of me a lot of reflection, a lot of looking at past choices and questioning how I may have made certain choices, gone down certain paths, and what was influencing me at the time. And these are things that I continually think about, and maybe other people don't, but I just happen to be a very introverted, introspective type person, and I have been constantly striving to find that right path or way of living in which I feel really in harmony with the true divine presence within, a divine purpose, a sense of living in harmony with natural law and the order of the universe, or whatever you want to call it. And so as a result of wanting to, dearly just wanting to live a feeling of being on purpose, really serving God, my little small will being sort of put aside, the past decade has really actually been a lot about healing and overcoming a lot of mental, emotional blocks to feeling more aligned. And I have spoken in the past about a sort of satanic operating system versus a divine operating system. Several years back, started to write a book called The Golden Compass, in which I was going to talk about this, and I do plan to get back to that. But in a nutshell, over the past 10 years, it has become ever more evident to me just how much we're all operating from this sort of inferior default operating system, which I call the SOS. And it's really just our ego and our thoughts, which have quite limited abilities to guide us in life. The ego is really just based on helping us sort of distinguish where our boundaries end and someone else's begin, and it's all purely a part of the mind or intellect that is just only focused on the material and can't see beyond it, doesn't have the equipment, so to speak. And so over the last decade, I've really had to recognize, and I've learned a lot of tools on how to overcome a lot of these beliefs and mental thoughts that keep us spinning, and they influence our decisions and cause us to go down paths that we may later kind of go, what the heck was I thinking? Sometimes these time periods where we stop and really look and take an honest assessment of our life can be emotionally challenging, to just put it mildly. And as you get older, especially, for myself anyway, I'll be 60 next spring, I've had to really just kind of sort through a lot of remorse and regret, and understand what has been operating beneath the surface so that I move forward in a new direction ideally more aligned with a greater sense of harmony and peace. And in fact, as challenging as some things have been over the last couple of years, those challenges, at least to me, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, have led to some incredible transformations. And I do believe I have a very highly intuitive, highly empathic nature, and so a lot of things do affect me pretty deeply, and it takes me a lot of time to perhaps process this, and hence sometimes I go into these periods where I sort of withdraw into my shell, and then you don't see me. But in general, I can't even begin to share the amount of red pilling I've gone through in one decade. And not just that, but the incredible growth of overcoming just a lifetime of debilitating beliefs and thoughts that caused me to feel a sort of lack of value or low self-worth, and tracing all that back to its source to the point where I could then finally kind of forgive, let go, and transcend it. And now it's like so much of my past history is just like almost like a tape that just curled itself back up and just went and it's gone. The old reel-to-reel tapes. So Strong Spirit Woman channel kind of got started or birthed in the midst of all of this, where I was aiming to become what I felt like was a strong spirit person, someone who was willing to be honest and do her best to be a very healthy person of mind, body, and spirit. And it has taken a lot of courage for me sometimes to face some things I've been facing. But from this point forward, I'm believing I'll probably end up changing the name of my video channel, and hence why I wanted to make this video and put it out for at least some point in time prior, so you'll have a heads up. In addition to everything that's been going on since we moved here, we really lost a lot of people. Several family members and old neighbors, friends, clients have all passed away in just a very short amount of time. And one that really was also very difficult most recently was the loss of Jasper. I was intending this to be a short video and not a emotional one, but anyway, she was an important part of my being. She snuck into my life 16 and a half or so years ago and really opened my heart. So I guess a lot of what's been going on, well, I haven't been around in front of the camera, is because there's been a lot of processing, and I didn't expect this right now. Processing about opening my heart and not letting it close up and go back to a stony place. And that's where the diet comes in. Yes, I've changed my diet again, and through the years I've seen all the divisiveness that has become the norm, especially within social media. I get very sensitive, and so it can sometimes be taking a lot of toll on me to read a lot of negative comments. And yet at the same time, I'm dumbfounded that I've had so many people follow me, because I know both Dawn and I get these criticisms about who could ever follow these two. They're constantly changing their mind. They waffle from one diet to another. How do you trust what they say now? And for anyone who feels that way, well, you know, I understand. I don't blame you. But the fact is, it takes a lot of chutzpah to actually be honest and make this stuff public. And all Dawn and I ever tried to do all along was just share our experiences and not come across dogmatic or opinionated like I've been accused of on more than one occasion. And yes, I have fallen into some dogmatic paths or tribes, and Yes, I look back on those days where I cringe at how I even started to feel like I became parroting the dogma of these particular tribes. So, what we've been trying to do all along, sometimes seemingly unsuccessfully, is really free ourselves on every level. And so, with respect to heart and freedom, I have, and we have transitioned our diet back into a plant-based diet, whole food, plant-based, mostly vegan. And I know there are people that get upset at hearing that and others who may applaud it. But nonetheless, I have to do what's right for me in my heart. And I can tell you things that happened that triggered that. I just lost the taste and desire to eat meat. But prior to that, it was like, in order to just finally heal my digestion and elimination, I found that eating meat and saturated fat wasn't helping. So the more I added plants in, the more I just slowly eliminated the animal food portion, having less and less meat, especially first got rid of the fatty meat, then, even some of the leaner meat. And then I realized that the more I added in the beans and legumes and grains, the better I felt. But I had to go through a process of healing my digestion so that I didn't once again kind of blame the food for problems I was having because of things not being healed within me. And the more I continued to eat that way, the less I wanted the animal foods at all. And I've been actually having the healthiest elimination and digestion I've ever had. Always a work in progress, but so much better. And I finally lost weight, those last 5 pounds that I never could lose. So my average weight is now at 60, almost 60 years old, barely 5 feet, 104 to 106 versus 108 to 110. And while that may not seem significant and it's not going to be some kind of YouTube clickbait, look at all the weight I lost going on this diet, bringing people in, it is significant to me, A, because I'm small, and B, because it's just how I feel. I feel more like myself gets released or revealed when I lose that extra sludge I feel like I'm carrying around, and it's mostly, of course, in the lower part of my body, hence why nobody believes that I'm carrying around excess body fat, and I clearly was. But also there are patterns that I'm aware of familially with respect to the health of my mom, whom I'm with a couple days a week, and witnessing just the loss of family members and the health situations they went through. So along the way, there have been some dots that got connected, and Don and I revisited some old YouTube content creators, watching videos we had watched in the past, and specifically about Dharma, universal natural law, universal religion, and spiritual beliefs that predate Christianity and all these other different religions, and vegetarianism as part of a spiritual path. And we began reading some old books too, and it just became clear that in order for us to feel in harmony and resonance with who we would like to be, our spiritual commitment and path that we would like to practice, that it just meant that we had to stop eating meat and animal foods, because it goes against the practice of ahimsa, which is doing the least possible harm. And I noticed that while eating those foods, in order to rationalize and justify a low-carb diet and returning to eating animal foods, I had to rationalize that I felt more real, and that just so much junk, that I felt so bad being vegan. And in truth, we just had gotten through 5 years, and we're probably just only going through one of those momentary lapses where there are these cravings or these changes as your body is trying to rid itself of all this old junk and residue that's stored in your cells and tissues. It created cravings, and or we also then fell prey to those subconscious beliefs of not feeling valued or worthy, or being disrespected or dismissed, especially by those who are most important to you in your life, your parents. And I'm not speaking personally about my mom at this point, but there's just been much that has been uncovered, and that has been touched upon in other areas. For example, Don has a long blog about what prompted his desire to change, because it started with health. But we've really uprooted a lot of other things that we realized are causing people to make decisions and causing people to justify their actions. And we've been guilty of it and have a lot of remorse, because we feel like idiots, for one, for having done so and not staying on path, losing our way. So the diet change has helped me to regain lost flexibility in my body, but also lost softness in my heart. And I've just had to allow the junk that got accumulated to peel away, of false beliefs and justifications and remorse and regret. And it's quite a process. I've also learned over the last couple of years that I actually really have an issue called dysregulation, where things can trigger me into a really funky state. And I put all my heart and soul into overcoming that as best I can, and now it's just something I manage. So I've made huge strides. I've had such amazing breakthroughs, but it's been hard won. And so I think, that's the gist of what's going on. I have limited time, partly because I spend a couple days a week with my mom, and she's got incredibly bad dementia and short-term memory loss. And if she could have me 3, 4, 5 days a week, she'd be happier. So it's like a blessing and a responsibility, just like my sensitivities are both a blessing and a responsibility, or a curse. It challenges me to stay strong amidst a flurry of heavy negativity that's out in the world. It challenges me to stay present and focus on what's real and true, and have gratitude for what is around me, and stay focused on that rather than hooked into these other kind of more negative mental mindsets. And it's sure something that's important to me, and I hope to share more of either in my blog or videos at some point down the road, pending interest in my time available. I love writing, and I've always loved natural foods, and so I've taken these two things to another place. I'm in the process of doing an online cooking school through Forks Over Knives, and it's through the Ruby Online Culinary School, Forks Over Knives Cooking Plan. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And the fact is, I just have loved natural foods since I was in high school. When I first tasted brown rice and beans, I was just amazed, because I didn't grow up eating those foods. I grew up eating white rice, if I had any, in more or less meat and potato type of diet. Natural foods just turned me on, and I guess the sadness that perhaps you're seeing in me right now, the emotion coming up, is that too many times I've dismissed my own self. I've turned away from some more innocent, pure part of me that has had an understanding, clarity. And I had some other kind of crazy persona take over me that took on the rhetoric that I hear out there, and almost started bashing my own older selves. And that's pretty painful, and it's not good. So what time I have, I am trying to channel into doing my class and writing on my blog as best as I can get to even that. And then remaining present with my mom and spending time with her. So whether or not these are things I want to be doing all the time is another story, but it's like a responsibility that I have to do. And whatever has been my experiences, because of where I came from and the amount of stuff I've had to overcome in my life, haven't felt like literally I was turned sideways at one point, I believe is worthy of sharing at some point when I can better articulate it. I do help people doing energy healings as well. I've gone back to doing that. I've shed a lot of the dogma of the brief little stint in the Christian church and have found my peace with understanding that the teachings even of Jesus are universal, and whether you are able to read the Bible and understand not just the meaning of it directly, but spiritually, it can really change things. And so I'm not trying to make an announcement of what to believe and tell anyone else what to do or eat or anything. I'm just saying people have become kind of happy that I've taken on these different personas. And I don't mean to disappoint anyone, but I'm going to be disappointing a lot of people. I'm not a typical Christian, and I believe in natural law and the universal order of things, and there's no doubt to me that we live in a world where we're under a certain spell, and it requires all of us to break free and overcome. And until we even recognize that we're being led by our egos or this inferior default operating system, we can't really make any progress. And so all that I have been through over the past couple years has been a culmination of all these forces, and I guess that's about it. I have a whole new journey ahead next set of years, this upcoming year, and I do plan to get back to doing videos. I, again, am very grateful for those who have followed me all this time, and if you've gotten to this point, thank you, because it's, of course, 3, 4, 5 times longer than I intended. So if you want to, you can check out my blog at tracyshealthyfood.com. Follow me on Instagram, and it's just at Tracy A. Matez, M-A-T-E-S-Z, and I'll put it all down below. So I wish you well through the rest of this fall and winter. Take time to reflect, envision what you would like to see in the world and see in your life.